Happy Thursday, everybody. We've almost made it to Friday. I hope it's been a good week for everybody. It's time for a bag check. It's been over a week, and we haven't checked in on this, so it's time. All right, so a couple of additions. This is a lemon verbena plant that I was overwintering. They are not perennial here in Connecticut, and it was looking a little yellow, so I stuck it in here for a few days and it greened right up. Can't wait to get it back outside. This over here is my daughter-in-law's Jasmine plant. Something happened to it. I'm not sure what. My son had one story. My daughter-in-law had another. My grandson seemed to snicker, so I think he's involved. Anyway, it was really, really sad, and I'm not sure there's hope for it, but if there is any hope, it's in here. And of course, we always see our comfrey plant. I break it off every single time, as I'm going to do right now, and I'll bury this in there, and by 2 or 3 days, all that same growth will be back up again. So it is definitely a chop and drop crop, even indoors. I haven't added much in the way of food to this bin lately. The only thing that I did add was I had some frozen vegetables that had reached their birthday in my freezer. So I thawed those out and gave it to the worms. And also some of those same mung beans that you may have seen in my other videos that, although I boiled them and really thought I had kept them from sprouting, they did. They sprouted like crazy in here. So I pulled them up, kind of, as you can see here, and just crushed them and laid them on the top so they would die. I have a feeling, though, that as we get into this, we're going to find more because there was so many. I just can't imagine there not being more. So I'm going to try to give you a good view. I expect this population of worms to be very high no matter where I go, regardless of food. This area over here where I'm actually starting at is where the large broccoli stem that I brought in from outside, this is the area where I buried it. And if you remember, it was pretty big. I mean, it was sticking out several inches due to its length. I don't see it right now. What I see are worms, of course. That's a good thing, right? And lots of sprouts. That's exactly what I expected. And I think you're seeing here some of these frozen vegetables I had mentioned. And these were just store-bought organic veggie mix, but they had gotten really old and I just wasn't going to eat them. So might as well save the freezer space for something more valuable and give them to the worms. This is the top of that jasmine plant. Since I cut it off, I just threw it in here. It's not waste when it's recycled or up-purposed or repurposed, right? So here is what's left of our broccoli stalk. Wow. Holy cow, wow. And you can remember, well, I hope you remember what it looked like. If not, I'm going to try to put a pop-up. I haven't yet figured out how to have an image pop up. I know how to do a card linking to another video, but I have not yet figured out how to insert an image. So if you see that, it means I learned it between filming this and uploading the video. So that is all that's left. And of course, those last few die-hard worms are going to be in it. Looks like there's a couple different kinds of worms in there. Let's continue to look around and see. I'm still trying to get the lighting adequate, or better, I should say. It's adequate, but it's not optimal. And right now, it's really because of where I had to locate this bin during the winter months and just how the lighting is in this area. So there's not a whole lot more I can do. I have a lamp directly over the bin, but that is also resulting in some shadowing, so I do apologize for that. I hope you can still get a good view despite that. Another few weeks and these guys will be moving, and we'll have some better lighting then. Okay, here's another sprout, of course. That's nothing shocking. I feel some heat right here. Looks like more of the jasmine plant, but it's pretty warm right here. There has to be something else going on in here. Actually, it's very warm. Here's another piece of the broccoli stem. Isn't it funny how it's just down to basically a hard woody stem, but yet there's those last worms that have to get every fiber of its existence. No, it is really warm right here. And you know, I have the thermometer that came with my worm factory right next to me here. I'm going to stick it down in there and see what it goes up to. Let's take a look here, because I am feeling some heat. Unfortunately, this isn't an instant read thermometer, so it's going to be slow going, and I don't think I'm patient enough for that, but it's already 82 or 3 degrees, so there's something going on underneath right there. So rather than waiting for this to happen, I'm going to just take it out and dig. And I do remember I buried a bagel in here, but it was quite a long time ago, so I don't think that's it. Oh, this is a lot of those frozen vegetables, and wow, look at, oh boy, this is hot right here. I guess it's just those frozen vegetables that heated up, but obviously it didn't heat up too much to keep the worms away. Look at all these guys. And this is just basically scraping the surface. You can always feel the worms versus the gooey food. There's so much, I don't know, what's the word? Slimier, just different. And I'm not sure what this is. It may be some remnants of that old pumpkin. In this area right here, we're going to heat. Oh, this is a banana. Okay, so they're eating the frozen food and saving their banana for dessert. That's my speculation anyway. So we're getting down to, you know, past the fresh food and getting to look at some of the castings, and they look really, really, really good. Really nice. No moisture problem at all. Now, it was around these outer edges that I had put the mung bean sprouts, and I should say it's much, much cooler over here. Here's our gourd as a recap, if you can hear it. This was a really, really pretty gourd back at Halloween, and I want to plant the seeds. They're dehydrated in there now, and I just thought I would let the worms see if they could penetrate it prior to planting it. It's been in there for a couple of months, and they haven't done anything to it yet. I think it's a little bit too thick-skinned for that. So this is a whole lot of stuff going on. There's some colored paper from something I ordered that had that in it, exactly as I expected. A lot of sprouts, which is fine, because as I turn them up and leave the roots above the surface, they will die and become just green food. Okay, let's take a look over this side. Of course, there's more pink sprouts. This is where I think the majority of the sprouts were planted. Okay, what is this? Oh, this is the jasmine plant. Okay, and this is how these plants end up being resurrected. Look at all the worms that climbed into the root ball. This was put in on Sunday. No, my son was here Sunday. This was put in on Monday after he left. It was tall, but completely dead. So I just chopped it off and stuck the root ball in here, and the worms will go in and go around every root and hopefully bring it back Hopefully. If not, then at least an effort was made. Now this is much, much cooler. Very nice over here. I'm feeling something down here. A piece of wood. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's, you know, as we go deeper, there's not as much food, of course, and that's how it should be. But look at this. It almost looks like potting mix, you know, like seed starting mix, that very loamy, fluffy feeling. And here we are encountering our beloved sprouts. Look at them all. It's kind of funny. Let me try to shake some of the stuff. Look at all these. This is crazy. I boiled these mung beans for 10 minutes. After the water came to a complete boil, I boiled them for 10 minutes. And then I allowed them to sit in the water for a couple, 2-3 hours till it completely cooled. And then I squeezed the heck out of them once they were cool to slip the skins off them so they wouldn't sprout. I just wanted them to turn to mush and feed them to my worms. Well, I guess mung beans are a little more hardy than other beans that I've used that method on. But wow, these castings are looking so good. Might be more of a bean nursery than a cocoon nursery right now, but I mean, anything green is a nitrogen fixer. It's only going to help improve the results of the castings. There's so much going on in here between the different foods, the different plants. Oop, I moved the lemon verbena aside. Looks like it's getting some new roots also. And there's just so many sprouts, so I'm glad I'm digging through here. I had pulled them all out, plucked them all out, and put them on the top, but obviously there was a bunch more deeper that were still to sprout, so that's what's going on. But again, when you get past all the food and sprouts, what you see are some pretty amazing castings, very healthy. There is zero smell. If I were to describe the smell, it would be walking through the woods and you turn over a log to look for a salamander. That earthy, loamy, woodsy smell, exactly as it should be when you have, you know, just the right conditions. But of course, regardless what part of the bin I dig into, I'm getting lots of worms. And some really nice castings. What I think I'm going to do, this is a piece of gourd shell from an old gourd that is really petrified at this point. What I think I'm going to do is stop feeding this bin for a while. Let all these bean sprouts and the frozen veggies and that banana get totally consumed, and of course the bedding, because I had added a whole bunch of fresh bedding, mostly leaves, underneath the frozen veggies, although it looks like they consumed the majority of that. That was a BJ's or Costco 5-pound bag, and although we've kind of buried it now, I don't need to tell you how much that is. It's 5 pounds of frozen veggies is a ton, and all I saw left was maybe a couple handfuls. All right, let's pull out our comfrey root. Now, if you look back at my last video on this bag, I showed a video how I ripped off all these feeder roots, and I said next time we go in, they will be back, these white roots, and lo and behold, they are back. So I'm going to do it again. And these will, well, this is a sprout, that doesn't count, but this is from the Comfrey plant. At least once a week, these roots will repopulate. And I'm sure down around the crown. Let me shake it. You can see all the worms that are kind of just enjoying it. doing what they do. Now, as to remind everybody, oh wow, look at this. Look at these castings. This is great. Once you get past all the edibles and you get into the finished material, let me try to go one handful deeper. Really, really nice stuff. This is more of the Comfrey feeder roots. When I ripped it up by its head, as I did so rudely, this part broke off, but that's okay. It'll be back in another 2 or 3 days. But these castings, I can't wait to do another harvest of this bin. I'm just setting up my grow tent and my lights, getting some seedlings going, and although I have several 6-gallon buckets of castings, there's no such thing as too much. If I have enough, I'll make my seed starting mix contain as much as 50% castings. And there are red wigglers, African night crawlers, European night crawlers, and Indian blue worms in this bin. So it has a smorgasbord. And you know that those broccoli stems that I stuck in here, they were so long that they had to be driven right to the bottom of the bag. So I'm sure that there are a lot of worms, deeper than would be normal for this type of setup, just because it's decaying down deep. So the worms will go where the food is. You can see how airy and loamy this is, so it's not like it's going to become aerobic deeper. Just look, I turned over a handful of basically finished material here. You can see the worms just kind of chilling out and enjoying, being proud of what they've done. I know I'm proud of what they've done. So even the finished material has a large worm population. There's going to be worms all through it, because it's never really, when the castings are this high in nutrients from so many different natural sources, leaves and bean pods and sprouts, pieces of bark, it's never really void of nutrients or food. Even what looks to us, to the naked eye, as finished, still has tidbits that these worms just love. So I could probably not feed this bin for a month or 2 and they would be fine. Probably longer than that. Okay, look at this. This is beautiful. Alright, I don't want to go too deep because I don't want to disrupt the compaction. Just want to take a look over here where, oh, there's the heat again. Okay, so the heat's basically in the center, which is where those frozen veggies are. And again, you know, the worms will always tell you when it's too hot. And these worms are saying that it's not. This is a banana that I'm mutilating. It's got a good strong smell and some veggies. And then, you know, right next to it is some really nice dark finish castings. Seems like they're really liking the leaves of that jasmine plant. That's what that is. Okay, let's move that over. Move this and move this. Let me just do a little bit more excavating here in the center. You can See some of the really nice red wigglers there. Enjoying whatever. Oh, this has a lot of leaves right here, so that's what they're enjoying. But this is basically a handful of worms and some of their favorite foods. Of course, I think everything in this bin is their favorite foods. Well, I've done a good job aerating as deep as is optimal. I don't want to go any deeper because I don't want to disrupt the bottom compaction, which would affect the harvest of this bin. So I think this is really mixed up the various food sources in here. It'll even out those warm spots, even though the warm spots did not seem to affect the worms in any way, because they are thriving to it rather than avoiding it. I believe when I had buried the bagel, I did an experiment. I took not a packaged bagel, it was like I think they're called Jewish bagels, I don't know, sourdough or something, but it's from a bakery and they're very fresh, and it had gotten stale, and I soaked it in water and buried it in here, and I put this thermometer here in it, and I was monitoring the temperature over a period of 2 weeks, and it got up to 98 degrees just in the bagel, not around it, and then cooled right down, and when it cooled down, it was gone. So it's interesting how those starches can get so hot. And if this bin weren't so large, I would never have done that experiment. But there's so much width and depth in here for the worms to go to that it wasn't a risk. I did check it a few times by digging around the sides of it and underneath it, and there were worms just flocked to it. I mean, it was just, the worms were crazy about it, and although it was close to 100 degrees, it didn't stop the worms from eating on it. And it certainly, as you can see, wasn't their only food source. So, well, this was a pretty thorough look. It looks like this looks like it was a potato. This was a potato. Okay, so that was definitely a potato. So this looks, oh no, wait, I just got a good whiff of it. That was a clementine. I'd put a whole bunch of clementines in here. Clementines go so fast. What I have found is that oranges, like navel oranges, although they'll eat them, they're not as crazy about them, but these little clementines, oh my goodness, they devour them. They really like their clementines. Alright, so I'm going to back up just a few steps here and try to do just an overview of this. And now we'll just take like another look at the material. And this is for my purpose as well as the video, because I am always analyzing and checking on the quality of my castings to see any signs that I'm doing something wrong, or any good indicators that something I've tried recently worked well, and I may want to continue to do it. So it's an always learning process for me as well. Or if it's not learning, then confirmation. Here's a little tip, little top hat of an old gourd. This is so petrified, oh my goodness. Well, I've evened out all the hot spots, and this feels and smells and looks really nice. So I guess we can close it up. Actually, I'm not going to close it up. I've been operating this bin open since just after Christmas, and I have found that it seems to be doing even better moisture wise. It could be what my combination of ingredients and bedding options are. I can't say that would work for every bin of this. This is an Urban Worm Bag 2.0, but for me, the results have been better with the top open, and I don't have a fly problem at this current time, so it's okay. All right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was long, but when I do a video of this Urban Worm Bag, I like to give you a good detailed look at the contents, both the surface and below, of the worms, the various types, the various stages that the decomposition is at, how the castings look, and give you a good description of what it is that I'm feeling and seeing, so that you can compare it to your results or decide if it's something that you want to do, and to give you a good enough look to maybe it'll prompt a question that you may have for me. And I am always more than happy to answer any questions. I only want to help other people succeed. Vermicomposting is far underutilized in my opinion. We need more people doing it, and the benefits of it for offsetting what would be trash going into the landfill, and for turning the greens into the most amazing organic soil amendment and fertilizer. I just don't think there's any reasons not to vermicompost. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You can do it with, a 12 by 12 inch pan and a handful of food scraps a week. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And the worms, your garden, or your house plants if you don't garden, and overall the earth and our climate that we are living in and leaving for future generations will greatly benefit from anything that you can turn into a nitrogen fixing source to offset the carbon footprint. And if we all do our part, we may leave this world here for a few more generations, and I'm doing my best in that. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend that's approaching quickly. If you have not already downloaded and made an account on the app Clubhouse, I strongly suggest it. I have created I've created a club. Clubhouse, it's an audio app. It's an audio app where you create clubs, and then within a club, rooms, and people speak. Let's say I would announce that, hey, at 3 o'clock today, I'm going to have a discussion about vermicompost. And you go into that room, and you'll see the various people. And at that point, it looks just like Zoom. You'll see heads only. What is your profile picture? There's no live video. And you'll have a hand button when you want to speak, and a mute button for when you're not speaking. And I have found, I've only been on it now about 3 weeks. I was invited by Mark Payne of Eve Growing, and I have just really been learning so much and sharing so much and enjoying so much. I met the qualifications to start my own group, which I did, or it's actually called a club. Once you have a club, you then create what they call rooms. So let's say my club is called Vermicasting. I could create a room called The Benefits of Vermicasting, and another room called How to Use Vermicast, and another room for problems with vermicast. So it can be broken down into little subsets. And what I like about it is it's all live. You know, you, me, whoever else wanted to join would jump in and we all would be talking real time. It's not delayed video. So again, it's called Clubhouse. Check it out. I strongly encourage you to. And I am going to add a link to my Clubhouse group and my Clubhouse profile to my bio here on YouTube. So if you're new to the Clubhouse app and you're not sure where to begin, if you click my profile link or my club or any of the rooms, I can help you get started. And I hope to see some of you, actually all of you there, because it's really a great platform. And I think once it catches on more, it's going to be dynamic. It already is. It's still in its infancy stage. It's only been about 1.5 years off the launch pad, but it's got so many amazing topics, very knowledgeable speakers. There's no spam, there's no bots, it's great because it's live. So that's enough rambling. This video is long. Again, have a great weekend. Please give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so if you would like to see more videos like this. And again, I will look for you on Clubhouse, and I'd be happy to answer whatever questions I have about using Clubhouse. I do know that twice a week they run a Welcome to Clubhouse room just to teach you how to use Clubhouse, which is very beneficial. So if you're not sure how to use it, you can watch one of those, and it's from there you'll navigate it quite easily. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.